Still, his manager insisted that he was not surprised by any of this. The next season, with nearly 25-year-old Kanté getting his first-year debut and suddenly sharing the pitch with superstars like Zlatan, Berbatov and Bernardo Silva, the media started catching up on just how odd his behavior was. You see, Kanté had to be berated by his own mom into buying a car. While everyone arrived to training in BMWs and Mercedes, he came in on a scooter, carrying his gear in a backpack. Even more endearing, as one of their players would tell the press, "Once, I invited him for my birthday, but when he arrived, he looked all shy. I went up to him, he handed me a box of chocolates and immediately apologized for the gift. He said he didn't know what to get me because he had never been invited to a birthday party." Regardless, if he was shy to the outside world, inside the pitch, he distinguished himself immediately, even going in by uncharacteristically opening the scoring 2 out of his first 3 games. And by January, with more and more people becoming convinced that Kanté was the next Makelele, Mali, the country where his parents were born, called him up for the African Cup of Nations. And believe it or not, Kanté almost took it, had it not been for several of his managers going up against his belief that France would never need him, which only became more just obviously wrong when he finished his season as the player with the most ball recoveries, not in his team, not in his league, but in all of Europe. Not only getting the attention of every stats analyst, but also that of Lyon, West Ham and Marseille, who immediately put down a €6 million bid that seemed damn near guaranteed to tie down his signing, if not for one man. Welcome, Steve Walsh, also known as one of the best scouts in England, the kind of guy that all the way back in 2017 came to Everton with an offer, £23 million for 3 players, Harry Maguire, Andy Robertson and Erling Haaland. So yeah, now that you get the kind of stakes we're dealing with, I'll tell you something even more relevant to the story. It was also the same man that brought Jamie Vardy and Riyad Mahrez to Leicester City, meaning that with Leicester having just managed to hold on to their place in the Premier League, just as legendary Esteban Cambiaso decided to leave the club, Steve Walsh was handed the job of finding him a replacement. He went through all the data, rechecked it all over again, and in the end, he had one conclusion. He had found a blind spot in the system. Something odd was happening. Either the numbers were off or this understated 5'6" midfielder was stuck playing way below his own level. So Walsh went to see it all with his own eyes, and for the first time someone said the same thing that has been said hundreds of times ever since. I could swear as I was watching the game, there were at least 2 of them on the pitch. So once he made it back to England, he brought Kanté with him so he could present him to Ranieri, and though the manager struggled to believe what he was hearing was true, Walsh ordered Kanté to turn off his phone so he wouldn't even be tempted to pick up any of Marseille's calls, locked him up in a hotel, and went back to Ranieri asking him when had he ever been wrong about a player. And €8 million later, with Kanté becoming SM Khan's biggest ever sale, the heist was complete. And a few matches later, no matter how strange the other players found it that he barely ever spoke a word, or that at one point he insisted he could just run to training every day as the staff once again had to persuade him to buy a car, only a few matches in, Ranieri was already calling Walsh, telling him, "Steve, don't ever listen to me again. I don't know what I'm talking about." And by mid-2016, well, the impossible happened. We all know the story. Leicester had 5,000 to 1 odds of winning the league. No club outside the top 6 had won it since the early days of the Premier League era, and suddenly they did it. Many have called it a miracle, but as much as 5,000 to 1 is a big number, I'll give you some more. That season, Kanté completed 175 tackles, 31 more than any player in the league. 157 interceptions, 15 more than anyone else. Put those 2 together and once again, all across Europe, no one had recovered more balls than him. It was no joke when midway through the season, Sir Alex claimed that Kanté is the best player in the league, by far, because come the end of it, he was the Champions Player of the Year, the league's best new player, he was in the Team of the Season, and of course, on France's list for the Euro 2016, where right on his first match, he led the team in passes, tackles, distance covered, and interceptions. He even assisted the winner. But after being handed the second yellow card, he was forced to miss the quarterfinals and ended up being dropped from the team as they went on to shockingly lose the final. No matter what Deschamps had seen in him had also been spotted by everyone else in Europe. PSG, Barcelona, City, Arsenal and Chelsea, but in the end, it was those last two going toe-to-toe, and with Arsenal refusing to pay up 10 million in agent fees and going with Xhaka instead, they opened the way.